What's up guys, this is Schirach talking, welcome back to my channel. In today's video we're gonna make a full review for the new Saruin banner. Yeah, there was a lot of hype for this character because he is extremely cool looking, very nice sprite art, but is it really good? Because, well, sometimes we have cool art but we don't have very good design. But we do have, yes, Saruin is a very cool character that will rival Lian in a different team. He is kind of a leader for shadow damage and something that I want to see happening more and more. Well, he can use it for farming and for nuking. Then we have Death, that is a damage dealer and instant killer for AoE. Schirach is a debuffer and counter with Petrified. So let's start talking about Saruin, and we have here a very interesting design. 116% for SDR and intelligence. These are not the highest values we have in the game right now. We already have 122, but it doesn't really make a difference because Saruin has lots of damage passives to make him very powerful. But he's also very defensive. 101% endurance and 91% will protect against many attacks. And his agility is 92% because he is both a farmer and a nuker for boss fights. So he takes a hit on his love and charisma, very low values. It's not gonna make that much difference. Let's say that you are using an AoE heal, it will heal 1.2000 for everyone, and for him it will be a little less than 1.1000. Well, depending on the squad, and if you are buffing love and charisma, this will hardly matter at all. So, Saruin uses a great sword and has access to shadow spells. You can craft a sword for him during this event, but most of the time you don't even need to care about the shadow spells. Okay, so to understand this character, we need to check the passives. The first one is called Millennial Grudge, that increases his damage capabilities by 50% for all shadow attacks, and all of his attacks have shadow, that means 50% at all times. Okay, and then on start of battle, he grants all surviving allies, including himself, another 50% shadow damage increase. So, just for himself, you have 100%. And then he still gives everyone 1 BP recovery on shadow attacks. If someone has an attack that has shadow and slash, they will get 1 BP back when they attack in that team. And people like Global X Rouge that has a chance to chase with other attacks that still have shadow, they will get BP even with their chase attacks. That can be very interesting depending on the characters that you have access to. So, moving on. The second on start of battle, he gets 3 BP, so starting with 13, and by the start of a turn, he buffs all of his status by 15%. Now that low love and charisma don't seem that bad, right? And by self-buffing even endurance and will, it means that he would take even less damage and do more by buffing SDR and intelligence. Then the last one, Great Sword Finesse. When attacking with Great Swords, damage will increase by 30%. Then when attacked, damage will be reduced by 30% as well. So what you have here is 130% damage increase for shadow attacks. All of his attacks are shadow, like I said. He takes 30% less damage, starts the fight with 13 BP, and buffs all of his status by 15% every turn. It's a lot of good things that make him good for boss fights and for farming. And he is a leader, like I said, a character that will just make all your shadow units perform better by increasing their damage capabilities and increasing their BP gains to fix some cycles. Now we can see his attacks. Let's even check the animations here on trial. The first skill is called Evil Grudge. This is a free skill that can be used at any time, so that he does never use a normal attack. It has slash and shadow properties and even a medium chance to inflict poison. They added poison because in JP he has a different skill from Inheritance that can inflict poison for Carmine Remembrance Battle. Well, we can kill Carmine by use of Final Impress gimmicks, but now you have a character that can also make it possible. And Seed Power for free is amazing, especially because it will benefit from all his damage capabilities. Now, the second one is called Wave of Malice. Wave of Malice is a Seed Power attack that will become 7 BP. That would give him a 50% increase in shadow damage. That's right. And then he will attack with the Seed Power attack. But at this point, he will have 180% damage increase to use a Seed Power attack. It's gonna hurt. It may not be enough to solo content, but it's still gonna hurt. and he will also grant himself that same passive that gives 1 BP by the end of a turn. So he already gets 4 BP per turn. When using this, it will become 4, and then he can use this 3 times in a row. It means that you get 3 by the end of a turn, 1 from the passive, 3 from the skill. You have 7 BP per turn, and by use of 3 stacks of Wave of Malice, you have 150% increase plus that 130 that he already has, reaching 280% damage potential as soon as he is ready by turn 4. So it's a character that can seem to work similarly to Leon. Leon needs to waste some turns in order to do damage, but sometimes you can even do the nuke attack with Saruin if you have a BP battery in your party by turn 4. But most of the time you won't have enough BP to use his best attack, only on turn 5. What is his best attack? This is a skill called Immortality. Well, this is a 4S attack that costs 13 BP with slash and shadow damage. It has a 90 mod. It's one of the strongest attacks with just 1 hit in a game. We still have other attacks that are better, but they are usually multi-hit. But when you just charge many times and then start using Immortality, he will do like 500,000 damage on base level if the enemy is weak to either slash or shadow. And if you are using him with other people in the party, that will give him even more morale up, attack boost, buff his STR even further. He can reach 1 million damage in a game. Yes, they even removed the cap that was 999.999. Now you can do more than 1 million. And he was one of the characters that will be capable of reaching that value. So, this can also be used for grinding. He starts with 13 BP, so he can use Immortality, and then he will use Evil Grudge after that for single target rotations. The damage from Immortality on turn 1 will be a little inferior, very little, to the damage capability of Rufus when attacking an enemy that has both blunt and slash weakness. And this is very hard to happen. So Saruin governs over 2 different elements, slash and shadow. It means that you can use him lots of time easily on max potential. With that said, we need to discuss the inheritance option. Okay, so we have 3 versions of Saruin now. His past limited style was UDX and gives him 3 different inheritance options. The best one being Destructive Blow. This is an 8 power AoE attack with slash and shadow. And I have already trained this to max, and I saw 170,000 damage versus enemies weak to slash or shadow. That's right, 170,000 on current game on release of Saruin. He can solo farm events where the enemies are aligned in a row or in a column. For now, this will stop happening in the future, but he can solo farm with the use of Destructive Blow. And he can use it 3 times in a row in any formation. He does not need extra BP from Dragon's Stance X, for example. So, pretty easy to use. And if you want, place him on the front line of Magia fight, bring someone in the back row with a fast attack, and he will still work super fine when he eventually stops being capable of soloing. But this will take some time. You can also just inherit Sword of Saruin if you want. Now, using the Dragon's Stance X formation, you can open with Immortality and then use Sword of Saruin to just do more damage in a single target rotation. But, well, you still require a secondary character to act in the second wave because Sword of Saruin will not kill a boss, even when farming. And Demise is not really that great because it's an S power attack. Well, from A to S is not a very big increase. At least it's fast. You can open with Demise if you want. But then you have nothing that really matters later. From his S style, there is Ultrasonic Wave for those that want to fight versus Wuhan or Remembrance Battle and didn't finish yet. You can use it to confuse the minions. Obliterate and Energy Bolt are just outclassed and you don't need to use these skills anymore. Well, some people tested and saw that one of the best inheritance to Saruin on boss fights is Sword of Saruin, because depending on the BP rotation, you may have enough BP to use Sword of Saruin instead of his C power attack and still have enough for Immortality later. So in boss fights, just inherit Sword of Saruin to use something strong when you don't have enough BP for a big nuke. In the end, he will just be a very strong farmer with Destructive Blow and a very strong boss specialist even without inheritance. You don't need to inherit anything for boss. And he can still kill some waves, especially on story with Wave of Malice. Remember that after the first usage, he will already do more damage on the second and third wave. And he can also use this 3 times in a row in any formation. But it's not fast, so you better place him on a formation that increases his speed. So Saruin is strong, very, very strong. You're gonna see lots of big numbers when using him for boss fights. Now, the best buffer to be used together with Saruin is the latest version of Muse. Why? Because she has this skill called Noble Prayer that buffs STR, Intelligence, Will, and Love by 30% on max level. You have to manually level it up because it starts on 20. But this will allow your Saruin to be used in a party with mages and physical attackers. So Global Axe Rouge together with Saruin will work super fine because you'll be buffing both status. She also buffs Will, that is important to resist ailments and debuffs, and Love because Saruin has very low buff. Muse can also just heal with use of Freud Fleuret, but it would depend if you have some BP batteries in the party, maybe even Rouge, because she will just be spending BP with Noble Prayer. And she also has this Scrum Guard, decreasing damage taken by 20% as long as everyone is alive, and has a chance to apply defense boost and give BP to the party. Muse will be the primary buffer, and for a secondary buffer, one that works super well is Witch's Daughter, because she buffs all status with her Sweet Smell. Then we also have Nawal's Daughter and Maria, that will work just the same, they buff all status. But that is only if you need a secondary buffer, maybe just one will work and you can bring more damage. Saruin squads will try to kill bosses faster. And we can talk about some people that will benefit a lot from Saruin, and well, we have Rock Bouquet, latest style. She has this attack called Lighting of Darkness that applies attack down and debuffs all stats. She works super well because she just helps deal with enemies that self-buff and have big damage. And there is also Gobi Spark that will cleanse all intelligence buffs and debuff intelligence by 30%. And she will get more BP by being on the same party. And there is also this skill called Psycho Boom. Because this one has 2 hits, she will recover 2 extra BP by using it. And it also debuffs intelligence by a lot, actually 35%. And she self-buffs, so if you can use in an enemy that is weak to Shadow, she's gonna recover lots of BP to keep using it. Besides Rock Bouquet, another very good character to use is Rouge. Rouge has his Global Axe style, and well, he has a passive that gives him BP when he attacks. He's already good because of that. And he has chances to chase with Everlasting Butterflies and also Blooming Fireworks when using any single target attack. He can inherit Dark Wash that also removes all buffs from an enemy, and can also use something else, like this skill called Darkness Bolt, just keep buffing his own intelligence and debuff enemies' will. And eventually he will chase with the older attacks, and especially if he chases with Blooming Fireworks to give VP to the party. And with this setup, Rouge will just keep reaching very high amounts of VP to just use Blooming Fireworks when he actually wants without having to rely on the chase. Another character works super well with Rouge is the latest Spell Girl, but I cannot show you here because I don't have it. And she has a 50% chance to chase with Telekinesis, and when she chases, she will get her extra VP. There is also Dimensional Aura if she wants to inherit, that will give lots of effects and still trigger the VP passive. So those are some of the best options to use together. And in his banner you have Death, that is not really that great, but there is a big nuke here called the Netherworld Sight. 3 hits of B power equals high end of 4S damage. But the problem is that you have very bad BP generation that really depends on having Saruin in the party. Another character benefits is Apollo. His Halloween style has Shadow damage with Malicious Pumpkin. That is an 8-powered attack that buffs Will. Well, you're gonna get that extra BP, but Apollo wants to use 4 Pumpkin Shield to get a chase when attacking on Overdrive. The problem is that when you use this Quadro Pumpkin Shield, you won't get the extra BP, so you are going to get the extra BPs when you attack on overdrive though. The more chances you have, the more BP you will regenerate. He can also help some other people to have better cycles like Schirach. Well, I'll talk more about her in this video, but she has this skill that costs 6 and she gets 4. That means that she'll actually get 5 with Saruin to keep debuffing. Besides, there is also Time Lord that will benefit from having better BP generation to apply his evasion shield. There are heavy nukers like Thiago Lisboa, Darky, and Joker. There is also Eagle Maul that will get more BP by AoE cycles, and even Darius if you want to use him on a boss challenge. In the end, Saruin is a character that works by himself, but also makes lots of different characters much better, so he deserves an OP grade in the tier list. You can theoretically skip him if you are okay with your damage dealers, and if you don't have enough gens, it's better to decide if you want Saruin or Mirza. You can probably get both if you skip all the other banners during this event, but go for one and wait to see what's coming. Okay, the next character is Death, and it's a mage with shadow spells. Although the attacks that he uses look more like, I don't know, a greatsword user, a sight user, or something. For status, we have 122 intelligence, that's the highest one in the game right now. 106% makes up for very nice accuracy and speed, but Death does not have as much endurance and will like Saruin and some other recent characters, and still takes a hit on love and charisma. Not much, but still here. Well, I think that Death was designed to be used for grinding and big damage, but for real long fights, I don't know. First of all, we have this passive called Active Momentum 2 Intelligence. On the start of a turn, will grant itself morale up medium, increasing damage by 25%, lasts for 1 turn. This does not stack with other sources of morale up medium. It's much better when you have something like attack boost. And then buffs own intelligence by 15%. Starts the fight with 13 BP to use his best nuke, and when landing an attack that kills a target, grants himself a heat up effect of medium effect. That increases damage potential by 10% for the whole fight, can trigger 5 times per battle. And when kills a target, also recovers 5 BP. Doesn't matter how many enemies are killed, but there's just one thing that I'll explain later, because Death has access to a skill that has multi-hits. If he kills different enemies with different hits, it will trigger this passive more than once. But, well, moving on, we have Latent Bloom Attack. When attack and damage taken will be reduced by 25%, so yeah, we have 1 damage reduction passive at least. And by the start of a turn, we get a heat up of medium effect, increasing damage potential by 10% for the whole fight, can trigger 5 times per battle. So, to be honest, when you are in a boss fight, you're not going to trigger the first heat up. So you only have that 5 stacks of medium effect by turn 5, and that morale up medium as well. So you do have 75%, but you are not capable of stacking morale up, because you already have this one here. But if you cast a higher value, the higher value will be considered. Because we have an intelligence buff, damage is not bad. Well, this Death was made for damage. Let's watch the attack animation. The first one is Small Steel. It's a E-power attack that costs 1 BP and has a low chance to apply instant Q, and will also recover HP by a very small effect. It should be around 180 with Death, and well, low chance of instant killing with such a high intelligence will work if the enemy does not have extreme resistance, but well, only 1 target barely matters. Then the second skill is called Burial Rite. Well, this is a C-power attack only, so not that strong, and costs 7 BP that has a chance to apply instant Q. So, to be honest, right now, Death has the best AoE instant Q chance in the game, and if it kills, it will trigger that passive that gives 5 BP back, allowing you to keep using Burial Rite as much as you want. But we do have 2 other alternatives in the game. They are Albert's latest style. Well, he can inherit the attack called Victor's Blade, and that will allow him to instant kill, and this version of him has very high intelligence. You can see it's 108, good enough. Then there is Darked Global X style that also has it with Fatal Trap. That can also be used 3 times in a row. And the style level has 100% intelligence. That is also good enough. That means that we already have 2 options for AoE instant kill. If you have those 2 characters, you don't really need to pursue Death for this utility alone. Actually, you will barely have usage for this type of thing anymore. They just don't want you to keep using this type of skill because it trivializes damage dealers. If you can instant kill, you don't need to do damage, right? But it's good to have if you don't have those other 2 characters. The damage is not great, it only works for instant kill. Then the last attack, Netherworld Sight. This attacks 3 times with B power. It's pretty similar to Vandalize Plus, a skill that you can find on Silver, and it just costs more. Vandalize Plus costs only 10, and Netherworld Sight costs 13, because it does have double element, but I think they should have decreased this to, I don't know, 12 at least. And, well, 3 hits of B power is high end of 4S damage, just like the nuke attack Immortality from Saruin. So, inside Saruin squad, Death can do very good damage. So, I think he actually needs to be on Saruin squad to justify his presence, because you could just bring someone else like Silver for slash damage, and she has her chains attacks, and has better sustain, will do more damage. So Death only works if you also have Saruin. That's kinda of a bad thing, in my opinion. But you can still use Death for some farming situations, like I said. If you kill more than 1 target with Netherworld Sight, you're gonna recover 10 BP. This will allow you to use Netherworld Sight again. I don't know where this will work so well, because I don't think that 75% damage increase is enough to kill more than 1 target, but we'll see. As for Inheritance, there's not much benefit, but from the second UDX style, we have Flash of Death, that has double S power and costs only 8 BP. Since it's fast, you can use it to pair up with someone else that do single target damage in an event where you have 2 bosses, so it can work. The other option will be from the Halloween style. We have Beast Grudge. This is a skill with 7 BP only, and it has S power, but it hits between 1 to 2 times. If it hits 2 times, it's just like 4S damage. And you can try to gamble with Death's damage if you use Beast Grudge. And to be honest, School Shot may be better than the other skill that just recover very small if you have very good healings in your party already. Funeral Parade is strong, but it's a turn 2 attack, so, well, not that great. We have better options anyway. And from the S style, we have Poison Bog to help out versus Carmine, if you haven't beat that one yet. And now we have Withering Plus. You can amplify Withering, and this will debuff STR and Endurance by 15% on max level. Debuffing Endurance does not help much, but if you really need to debuff STR, at least Death can use this every single turn. Death is just too simple and not important in the game. It will only receive an SS standard grade in our tier list, and if you don't get Death, just skip and forget. It will not be missed. The next version of Death is very different. It's more like a priest. Just look on the clothes. And it actually wants to use heat attacks. Well, it comes with 2 different ones. One that debuffs 2 different status, that is Intelligence and Will, and one that has double S power and will heal everyone by very small effect. Well, when using heat attacks, it will already recover everyone by very small, and will also get 2 BP back. So if you are using together with Saruin, you are gonna get 6 BP back, and you are going to spend in the end only 2. And it has a very interesting passive, increasing damage potential for everyone in the party by 20%, reducing damage taken by 25%, that's higher than Scrum Guard, but it does take away 1 LP from the party. So if you are using Mian, you have 1 less bullet. With Silver, it still works because she's left with 2 LP. But there's something that will trigger if someone dies. It will be revived by the end of turn with very small heal. That will be around 200. It's nice because you can use someone like Polka or Mirza on overdrive in the next turn, and they will be able to heal people because they cannot revive. This style is probably 2 to 3 months away at least, but I believe many people will want, and they will probably buff when it reaches global. The last character is Schirach, and she is a deity. That means that she equips martial arts weapon, but her attacks are based on intelligence. So let's check the status. We have 114% intelligence. That's not the biggest values for damage, but it's good enough. And she has 103% for 3 different status: endurance, will, and agility. That makes sense because she's a debuffer. She needs to go fast. She is also a tank, so having good endurance and will help her out. She has good charisma, although very low love. Makes sense. Evil creatures. And now for passives, we have the first one called Wistfulness. By the start of a turn, she will enter a taunt stance of medium effect that lasts for 4 turns. And it stacks. That means that by turn 4, she will have very high chance of being attacked. Every turn, she also recovers HP by around 200. When she is directly attacked, she will always counter with Wistful Eyes and also reduce damage taken. Wistful Eyes is a full AoE attack with Shadow and Cold. Double element makes it better. And it has a chance to apply Petrification. Not that it's gonna matter because bosses are never, non-resistant to Petrify. And if we had some events like Tower again, this could help, but, well, I don't know when you can actually make use of this. It will be used on rank 1, so the damage won't be that great, but if you counter too many times, maybe it will help. Because we have passive number 2. When she lands an attack, she recovers 1 BP. Counters will trigger 1 BP, allowing her to use some high cost skills. Then she also has 37% chance to evade any type of enemy attack, be it direct, be it indirect. Very nice. The third one is called Latent Bloom Defense. Attack damage increases by 20%, and by the start of a turn, she grants herself defense up of medium effect by 5 times per battle. This is around 40% damage reduction, so very nice to use on boss fights, but takes time to build up. Okay, so this character is a tank, just by looking on the status, but she has something else. Now when looking on her skills, I will start with the third one, called Sorrowful Soul. This is an S power attack that has blunt and shadow damage and carries an additional effect. It will try to debuff agility by 30%. Well, that's very big value, huh? And will grant her a defense boost that will decrease damage taken by 35%. So this is something that you want to use on turn 1 and apply this defense boost so that you take less damage and starts countering. Because she taunts, that means that she will receive more damage. After you use Sorrowful Soul, you can now use Dark Shell. That is free, and it has both blunt and shadow damage, only E power, but it grants Guard Up Small, decreasing damage taken by 12%, lasts for 2 turns, and, well, it will clash with other Guard Ups. That means that if you have someone else casting Guard Up Medium, for example, only the Guard Up Medium will be effective. But she can cycle between Sorrowful Soul and Dark Shell most of the time, because this is like 9 BP, she gets 8 BP in 2 turns. If she counters at least once, she will get 1 BP back, and if used together with Saruin, she will always have enough BP anyway. Then we have this second skill that is actually used for a different utility. It's called Binding Sphere. It costs 6 BP, it's just a power, and when attacking, it will try to debuff 2 different stats, that is, Intelligence and Will by 15% on max level. Debuffing Will is not really important usually because this is made to increase magical damage, but also to decrease the resistance of debuffs or ailments. Well, you don't usually apply ailments on bosses, but we do sometimes apply debuffs, but usually you just bring a debuffer with high enough status and that's it. So, debuffing intelligence can be important in many different boss fights. It's much better than debuffing STR or dexterity usually. Well, if you are using her without Saruin in the party, she will spend 6 BP, recover 4. That means that in 3 turns, she debuffs twice. So it's not a perfect cycle. And because we are debuffing Will, well, it's not as good as we could have been debuffing Intelligence and Agility or I don't know, intelligence and STR, or intelligence and dexterity, for example. So it can be good, but it's nothing special, and debuffers are facing lots of problems recently. So her main gameplay is to keep using Binding Sphere as a debuffer, or as a tanker, just using Sorrowful Soul and Dark Shell. But sadly, her counter damage is just not that great as some other characters that we have. Like Galahad. Galahad has that Freeze Spike skill that will counter, and has B damage, and triggers a healing. This is very important. There is also Bertrand, that has a much higher damage potential because he self-buffs when being hit. And the counter will be Twin Goldfish, that is a stronger attack that also grants defense boosts. And he can self-heal very nicely with passives Cure Fire and Cure Water. Then we have the latest version of Yumameyo that I don't have, but can counter with very good damage and self-buff when hit. And then there is also Socho. Socho brings so much to the table because he also taunts, he also counters, and he has a skill called Let Me Handle It that will give 10 BP to the party. He self-buffs when he counters, so his damage scales well. But this time it's just one target, just like Galahad. So I guess that it will only matter if you are facing multiple enemies in the case of Schirach. As for inheritance options, we have this Out of Sight Wretch, Schirach, that has Black Hole. This is a 12 BP attack that buffs STR and agility by 30% on max level. That's big, and will allow you to evade some attacks on turn 1. I remember using this versus the Tone Lord boss fight before Egg. That was really helpful. But it's kinda costly, so she cannot use this all the time. We have Nocturne, that is a cheaper option that buffs both STR and agility as well by 15%, and she can use it many times. If she is on Saruin squad, she uses 6, recovers 5. Easy. And then there's Dark Press, it's a full AoE attack that buffs agility by 15% if you only want to debuff agility. If you don't have this version, there is in the first style Sorrows that also debuffs agility, but it's single targets. Hymn of the Night Wind can stun, but it's actually much better used in this Schirach version because she can use it 2 times in a row. But from her free style you have Incense, that is an AoE FTR debuff that can be better than just debuffing agility. And there is a stronger version for single target. And Thrill of Sorrow, that is now amplifiable, becoming a 4S attack. It's actually strong if she's on Saruin squad to nuke. Both Blunt and Shadow, but it debuffs all surviving allies love and charisma by probably, I don't know, 30% as well. You really need to have someone in your party buffing love or charisma to not see the detriment of this skill. So if you want to nuke, bring Thrill of Sorrow. Do you want to debuff? Bring either Nocturne or Black Hole. So in the end, Schirach works on base level as a tank, but her damage capabilities are very limited. As a debuffer, but we have Rock Bouquet that debuffs all status and even apply attack down. She is an inferior version of most gameplays that we have access to, but, well, at least work, and we receive an SS plus grade in the cheer list. Now back to the banner image. Is this banner worth summoning for? In my opinion, yes. I just gave an OP grade to Saruin. And he is a very good character that rivals Leon and brings new type of strategies for boss fights and is still a very strong farmer. But he's the only unit that makes it appealing. You don't need Schirach or Death. They just work on base level and don't offer too much. To be honest, you easily forget about them in the future. So if you want to pull here, just remember that if you do paid pulls, you have a higher chance because there's no off-banner units. I did 7 multis and got the characters, but even if I showcase Death and Shirach, you don't need them. They are not really worth. Even if you have 13,000 medals and you just need to do 2 multis to guarantee one of them, don't do it, in my opinion. But if you are a fan of the characters, it's just okay to pull. But they offer less utility than other characters that are already inside the game. When you get new characters, they need to be better and not inferior. Eventually, Saruin will be outclassed. He will still be good as a support unit by giving additional effects to the party, but there will be better damage dealers. But even if you want to skip Saruin now because of the banner value being lower, once he gets a rerun, he will still be something good to have. So, you decide. Well, that is my opinion. What is yours? Please say here on the comment section. Thank you so much for watching. Please click the like button and subscribe if you haven't. And I really want to see you soon in the next video or next live stream. Bye.